Organ trafficking is the organized crime of buying and selling organs illegally. There are many instances where people need organ transplants, and typically this would be arranged through various medical resource institutions. However, it is estimated that 10% of the organ transplants done on a global scale are done using organs from the black market. Although it is hard to find statistics on this matter because of its illegality, one source shows that 10,000 kidneys are traded on the black market worldwide annually, which is more than one every hour.
The human trafficking of organs and other tissues is an extensive billion-dollar industry that is extremely hard to gather information on. Not even human rights organizations or the United Nations Anti-Trafficking Office has data on organ trafficking. The Organ Watch program sends individuals undercover to witness an active organ trade. Thus, the author was required to go undercover at times in order to document the illegal trafficking of human organs. The only reliable information that can be collected on trafficking organs is in real time from first-hand experiences because there are no guidelines that these people have to follow. Every experience is going to be different. Because every experience is going to be different, anthropological subjects are looked at as friends and research collaborators in order to form deeper bonds. These methods require building trust that will allow access to the behind the scenes. Whether anthropologists are working in villages, street corners, slums, or hospitals, they are expected to win over research subjects by what is often a mutually rewarding experience. While this fieldwork is mostly about building these tight relationships, anthropologists are not detectives, and they are trained to hold anthropologist-informant relations as a sacred trust. But surely this does not mean that one has to be a bystander to international crimes against the vulnerable populations. This article lays out some difficulties that come into play when studying the trafficking of organs.
Trying to imagine being in the position to need to illegally buy an organ seems impossible, but as we all know, it happens every single day. How does one become so desperate that they resort to illegally obtaining an organ? The way I see it, there's two options for the buyer and for the seller. For the seller, which are people often in poverty, will watch their family starve or sell a kidney in order to provide for their family and in order to survive themselves. And then the buyer will either die waiting for a kidney on the UNO's wait list or put ethics aside and buy a new kidney. This is a moral dilemma, and we can see an example of this in the article. Salantis K lost his job at a commercial bakery in Istanbul. Saltman's wife left him and he spent time living in the street. He states, "I never thought it would come to this," referring to his current work as a drunk man, wheeling his heavy wooden cart past cheap motels. This is just one example of many of how people become in the situation to buy or sell a kidney. Organs generally come from vulnerable populations in countries with low laws on organ trade and go to recipients in wealthier countries.
In the article, The Ethics of Engaged Ethnography, Applying a Militant Anthropology in Organ Trafficking Research by Nancy Shepard Hughes, she says in regards looking to a man to sell his kidney for about $30,000, "Did you know that there were many Moldovan day workers across the street who were prepared to sell a kidney for $3,000 or less?" He then replies, "But Turkish citizens sell for more. This is our country and we set the price." What this shows is that there is a difference in the amount someone's kidney is worth based on what the organ buyer can haggle the price down to. The organ trafficking business is willing to withhold compensation from many people just because they know that they can exploit people that are desperate enough for money. And the human trafficking for organs and tissues is an extensive billion-dollar industry. There are many different sources participating in organ trafficking, and through this they have all made a ton of money. For example, organ trafficking involves and is protected by military police, immigration officers, state pathologists, tissue bank managers, lab technicians, airline companies, hospital administrators, and transplant coordinators. There are many people that have to be in on this in order to make it a successful business.
Where there is a demand, there is a supply for all things, including the need of organs. This large demand is because over 114,000 people are on the organ waitlist in the United States alone, and a new person is added to this waitlist every 10 minutes. The average wait time in the United States for a kidney transplant is 3 to 5 years. In other countries, it can take much longer. The U.S. has an ethically run oversight group that controls organ transplant systems such as UNOS. In 2010, the World Health Organization stated that 10,000 kidneys were sold on the black market, meaning one kidney was sold per hour for every year. On average, 20 people will die every day waiting for an available organ in the United States.
The demands of organs is very high because the amount of legal transplants depends on how many people are willing to donate their organs. Thus, the demand for organs is much higher than the legal supply can allow because it is so unpredictable. This leads to high amounts of illegal organ transplants, and these can be very dangerous. The risk of contracting diseases through illegal organ trafficking is extremely high. Donors are often screened for antibodies, including HIV, other STDs, and hepatitis B and C. The standard of what is considered healthy for both parties is not always taken into account. These health standards need to be consistent, but since this is an illegal business, it is almost impossible to create guidelines that can be regulated.
Thank you.